Hello, and welcome back to Learning English Fast with Eli podcast. Thank you so much for watching or listening to me today. So remember that down in the description, there is a transcript for if you want to hear every word I say during this, time, as well as a vocabulary list if you want to practice learning some new English words or phrases. All right, so the topic today is living in the countryside. Living in the countryside. When I was very young, I was born in a big city of Milwaukee, which is in the state of Wisconsin. Do you know Wisconsin? Most foreigners don't know where Wisconsin is in America, but it's in the north. In the winter, it gets very cold, and in the summer, it's very humid. But I was born in the city, but after I turned, I believe maybe 3 or 4 years old, my family moved to a small town, the countryside town actually, called Wapaka. Wapaka. And I lived there for most of my childhood, just in the countryside. There were some people around us, and there were some farms around us as well. But other than that, it was just a very, empty place, really nothing to see and not really a lot of stuff to do. Behind my home, there was a train track. So every day you can hear the trains going past, but not so many. It's maybe like one or two times a day. And my brothers and I would sometimes play on the train tracks because they're just right behind my home. And we also had some fruit trees as well in our backyard. And it was in the winter, it was tough because there would be so much snow. Yeah, but living in the countryside, I think it was such a good experience for me because I was able to just really appreciate like nature and appreciate the different seasons. Sometimes living in the city, you kind of forget like what nature is or how to, really appreciate the different seasons that are around us. So it was really great for me. Now, I want to share some stories of my time living in the countryside. So the biggest impact living there was always the winter because like I said before, it's very cold and the snow gets so high in the wintertime. And my brothers and I, we had to shovel the snow every day. And it was so difficult in the winter. But we also had so many fun times in the winter. We would make so many snowmen where we roll big balls and we put them on top of each other. And then we find some sticks, put the stick into the snowballs and some rocks for some eyes and some mouth. But we don't use carrot for the nose because that's wasting food. Instead, we use a stick for the nose. And we would make snowmen. We would always have snowball fights. And I remember in front of our home, there's a little yard, and we made two different snow forts. A snow fort is like a little wall, but it's made of snow. And then one team is on one side, the other team's on the other side, and we have to throw snowballs at each other. It was so much fun. But at that time, when I was younger, I had asthma. Asthma. So I wasn't really able to, do my best at these games, or I would always lose, because I don't have the skill. Now, for those of you who don't know, asthma is a type of condition where your throat gets smaller and becomes difficult to breathe if you are moving too much or if some type of allergy comes. I was born with asthma until I was about 16. Then my asthma went away. But it was very difficult for me because every time I would even walk too fast, I would have an asthma attack. And asthma, it's like you're a fish out of water. Like you can't breathe like that. It's very, very difficult. And living in the countryside, there are so many flowers and so many trees and so many things like grass, that a lot of those things affected me. So like I hated the springtime because there would be so much pollen in the air and like new grass would come. So if I go outside, I would sometimes have asthma attacks. So for me, it was very difficult at that time. But still, it was still very fun. It was difficult but fun. One of our friends that lived across the street from us was a farmer, and his name was Mr. Pete. And we would often go to his farm and we would look at the cows, the horses, the animals that he had. And with his son, we would always play together. His son's name is Hunter. Good name, huh? And we would, in their barn, it was so big, right? So we would go into the cornfield because they have a lot of corn, and we would hide in the cornfield and play games in the cornfield. It was so much fun. And sometimes Mr. Pete would take so much hay and make this huge hay pile, and we would jump into the hay pile and we would hide in the hay pile. Those are really good memories. In their yard, they also had a bell, a big bell that you can ring. But you can only ring the bell if it's an emergency. If it's not serious, you can't touch the bell. One time, my brothers and I were looking at the bell and we wanted to ring it. And so we rang the bell and we ran away. And Hunter's mom was so angry because she thought it was an emergency, but it wasn't an emergency. It was just boys ringing the bell. And after that, my parents, they spanked us. And then we had to say we're sorry. And so we learned our lesson. There were some other friends who lived nearby as well. Down the road, over the train tracks, we had some friends that lived over there. And so we would ride our bikes to that friend's house. And at their home, they lived in like an area surrounded by a forest, so many trees. So we would ride our bikes there. And then with that family, we would hang out and play in their woods. We would look at animals. There would be a little pond over there, a little like area for fishing. So we take a little rope and whoop, throw the rope into the pond and maybe catch a fish. It was really, really fun. And what else can I say about it? It was just a very good time living in the countryside. I know some of you watching have lived in the countryside, or maybe some of you live in the city. But if I have to compare, for me personally, I prefer the countryside more than the city. Here are my reasons why. The first reason is because it's more peaceful. I think in the countryside, it's more quiet. And in the evening, you can really see the stars. You can really hear the sounds of nature, which I just find very peaceful. Another reason I think the country is better and I enjoy it more is the safety. In the countryside, usually it's more safe than the city. So many crimes happen in the city. And of course, sometimes crimes happen in the countryside, but usually not too many. And also, I really enjoy it because of the friendship of the neighbors. Many times in the country, neighbors know each other. We talk to each other, we see each other, we say hi to each other. But in the city, in the big city, so many people don't even know their neighbors next door. So many people never even talk to their neighbors. We see them, we say nothing. And so there's really not that connection, not that type of friendship that you can have in the countryside. Yeah, so there's just some reasons why I love the country. And please tell me, what are some reasons you love the countryside? Or would you like to live there? Would you like to go there? Please tell me down in the comments today. Yeah, so thank you so much for listening or watching. And please remember that right now I have created a special 7-week or 4-week course for those of you who want to practice your English and take it to the next level. That is also in the description down below. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you later. Bye-bye.